Hey everyone, Andrea here. Welcome to Karchermakes. This is the place where I like to talk about all the crafty things, and that's almost always knitting, sometimes spinning, crochet, weaving, sewing, quilting. If it's crafty, I love it, and I hope you love it here too. Let's get into it. So this video is all about Maryland Sheep and Wool Weekend, which was last weekend, May 3rd and 4th. It was preceded by Yarncentrick, which is a fiber festival pop-up that was held in Frederick, Maryland on May 2nd. And then I also had the privilege of taking a workshop at the fairgrounds on Wednesday, April 30th. And I just want to share my experiences with that. I want to share with you some of the fun that I had at both Yarncentrick and Maryland Sheep and Wool, and maybe give you some tips for next year, some observations that I made that are in addition to all of the things that I shared in my last video, which was all about planning for a fiber festival. At the very end, we're also going to talk about some purchases and acquisitions that I made over the weekend. So I'm really going to do this in chronological order. So like I mentioned, I took a workshop on April 30th. It was held at the fairgrounds, Howard County Fairgrounds, which is where Maryland Sheep and Wool is held. And the weather was beautiful that day. Look, weather in Maryland is so unpredictable, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the actual Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival portion of this program. But Wednesday was a beautiful day. It was warm, it was sunny. There was no issues parking, obviously, because the fairground was only open for vendors setting up as well as the few workshops that were being held there. So the workshop that I took was Yarnitecture by Jillian Moreno. And she gave us this nice little handout with all of the topics that we covered in this class. And if you're unfamiliar, Jillian also has a book of the same name, Yarnitecture, which really goes into how to select fibers, how to manage colors, and really spin yarn that is appropriate for the project that you want to make. And the amount of information that we got in this one-day class, it was 9 to 4. The amount of information that Jillian packed into that one day was amazing. I learned so much that I didn't already know about spinning, and I've been a very novice spinner since 2016 probably. I spin off and on. I make yarn. I've knitted with my yarn, but it was never intentional, and I just kind of let the fibers do what they want to do, and I just knit whatever I wanted to knit. But what I really learned in the class is that, depending on what you want to make, there's specific fibers that you should use based on the breed type of the sheep, for example. Is it a long wool? Is it a shorter wool? The staple length matters based on what you want to make. And, getting that information and learning all of those things really is going to help me become a better spinner. And then hopefully I have enough information now to really make my sort of dream project, which is a hand-spun sweater. So I'll insert some footage as we go along here of some of the things from the class. Jillian provided a lot of samples that showed the difference between a 2-ply yarn versus a 3-ply yarn, a woolen spun yarn versus a worsted spun yarn, and really talked about when and how to make those types of yarns. And another thing that we really spent a lot of time on in the class was practicing these different fibers, spinning with different fibers, spinning different types of drafts. So we spun short forward, we spun long draw, and this honestly is the first time I was able to successfully spin long draw. I don't know if it's something I'm going to do very often, but I at least now have that skill and now I know how to do it, and that's exciting for me. So as a part of the class also, we made lots of samples, and I'm just going to show some of mine here. And another thing that I really appreciated about the class is that Jillian talked a lot about how to document your spinning, and that is something that I didn't do. I'm terrible at it, and I really appreciated the help and understanding how and what to document as you're spinning. So we made these little sample cards, and on the right here I have a little sample of the fiber that we were given. So we did pay a $35 materials fee for the class, and we got so much fiber, and I brought home a lot of it, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but we were able to make these little samples, and the fiber is here, and then the actual ply back sample, and these are all, I think these are all 2-ply that I've done. We made the little sample, and you can really see with these samples how the different fibers behave. Some are more drapey than others, and some are thicker. The woolen spun is a little thicker, and I just love having this as a reference. And then here's another one that I did. I ran out of space on that card. So this was probably my favorite part of the whole class was making these little sample cards. So now I have these for future reference. So when I go to spin my sweater, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but when I go to spin my sweater, I will have these to kind of go by and understand, like, okay, if I want my yarn to look like this, then I used a comb top and I tried long draw with it. And then we also made these little samples. And another thing that we talked about in class was combo spinning, or as Jillian prefers to call it, parallel drafting. And these two little samples are good examples of the differences between how the fiber is drafted. So this one I chose to parallel draft. It's the same braid. Let me just start there. This is all the same braid by Into the Whirled Fiber. It was a Falkland hand-dyed braid, and on this one I just spun it end to end. I flipped the second piece, plied it together as a 2-ply. This one I did parallel drafting, aka combo spinning, and I held a Shetland gray with the braid and drafted it together, and you can really see the difference, right? You can really see the difference between these two yarns and how the color changes based on how you are manipulating the braid and then also adding a different color fiber to the spin. And then they're just both 2-ply. Jillian was also very, very nice, and she took the time to sign my book for me. So if you are interested in spinning and you have the privilege and opportunity of taking a class with Jillian, I highly recommend. She's so knowledgeable. I feel like the class could have been more than one day. And she did mention that in some workshops, she extends it out to more than one day and then sometimes a whole week. And I feel like that would be amazing. But if you're unable to take a class with Jillian for whatever reason, highly recommend the book. The workshop really walks through all of the topics in this book at kind of a high level, and then obviously the book goes deeper. And even in the book, we have a lot of the samples that she's shown to us in class are included in the book. So I'm happy to have those as added reference. So I really feel like I am ready to become a superstar spinner now. I feel like I have the knowledge and the tools and some of the practice under my belt thanks to this class. And I really want to start a hand spun sweater, which I know is a big undertaking. And also in this book, there's a bunch of patterns included. And this one in particular caught my eye. And I feel like this might be the one that I want to try. This is called the Tetris Pullover, and it's designed by Julia Farwell Clay. And there's a picture of it again. But I think that's beautiful, and I got some fiber. We're gonna see that later, and I think it's gonna be perfect for that sweater. Another fun part of the class is that I got to meet people from Instagram who I wouldn't necessarily have otherwise met in real life. So I met Nitty Natty, Natalie. It was good to meet you, Natalie. Her friend Shannon, who's not on social media, but they were really fun to talk to. I met Sarah, Allison, so many other people, right? And it's that sort of environment that I think lends itself well to connecting with other people. And that's kind of a big part of it too, right? Connecting with other people, like-minded people, people who have similar goals and hobbies and all of that, right? That's what makes it kind of special to me. Okay, so moving on. That was Wednesday. Took the workshop. It was amazing. Then on Friday, that was Yarncentrick Day. And like I mentioned, Yarncentrick is a smaller fiber festival pop-up that happens the Friday before Maryland Sheep and Wool. It is held at the Arc in Frederick, Maryland. And it is such a good venue for a smaller fiber festival like this. Ample parking, accessibility, the weather was amazing. It was a little warm, and I chose to wear a wool wrap that I kept on the whole time because it was really pretty, but it was very warm that day. And I feel like it got a little heated inside the building, but aside from that, it was a really good show. Now, I had every intention of filming some of the booths and maybe talking to some folks, and none of that happened. I got so absorbed, and this is a good problem, right? I got so absorbed in talking to everybody that it didn't happen. So I don't think I have any footage from Yarncentrick to share, but I do have some goodies, and I'm going to talk about all of those at the end of this, so stay tuned if you're interested in the Yarncentrick Haul. So like I mentioned, Yarncentrick is a smaller pop-up festival. Inside there was about 30 vendors, and then outside there was 4 fiber and yarn trucks, and it just really gives a more sort of cozy and connected feeling. The tickets are timed, so you're let in kind of smaller groups so that, unlike Maryland Sheep and Wool, you don't have the giant rush of people all at once. And I do think that helps the vendors a little bit, just to not get overwhelmed by a mad rush of people all at once. And then it also allows the people to be spread out so that you can actually get in and see the booths and really shop. And I really appreciate that. Okay, the big show, Saturday, Maryland Sheep and Wool. So I decided that I wanted to get there at opening time. I know that especially this year, it was very, very, very busy. And the weather until 4 o'clock, the weather was sunny and warm. And I'll mention this later when I add in the footage from the actual show. With Maryland, you get either hot and sweaty or you get monsoon. That's it. Like, those are the two choices. Pick your poison. And apparently this year we got both, so there's that. But it was very, very warm, and there were so many people there. And I know a lot of people got caught up in the traffic trying to get in, because the fairgrounds is on a single road. There's one way in and one way out. However, and I mentioned this in last year's recap video, and I don't know if I mentioned it in the planning video that went up last week, but the access road to Maryland Sheep and Wool, you can really get to from 2 exits from Route 70. And I know the local people are like, shh, don't tell people this, but don't take 32 if you come later in the day. You're gonna get caught in the backup, because there's a light at the corner of the Fairgrounds Road and Route 32, which is the exit off of Route 70, and it gets backed up. Do not take that way if you come later in the day. Go past the fairgrounds on 70, and I'm assuming you're coming from Baltimore when I'm giving these directions. If you're coming from Baltimore, go past the fairgrounds on 70. You're going to drive right past it. Go down to the next exit. It's Route 97. Take 97, go down the Fairgrounds Road. You're going to make a left on Fairgrounds Road, and then you're going to make a left into the fairgrounds. GPS does not take you this way. It's so much better and easier to get in. Pro tip. So Maryland Sheep and Wool itself, like I mentioned, it was very, very, very busy. And I got there before the gate opening, and I know I mentioned in the planning and budgeting video that I can't stand waiting in lines. I got caught waiting in line because I got there so early, and the gate does not open until 8:30. They keep that thing shut until 8:30. Now, just like I've mentioned in those prior videos though, the prepay line was hundreds of people deep. Now, once they open the gate, it does get moving, and it moves fairly quickly, but prepaid tickets, be prepared to wait in line. I chose to go through the cash line. I was maybe 40 people back from the gate when I got there, and I got there at 8:15. So I had to wait like 15 minutes, but that line was much shorter and it moved fairly quickly. The one thing I want to say is that while I was waiting in line, I felt like a lot of people were complaining about the fact that there was a line, but like I mentioned in those past videos, please understand, they do not open the gate until opening time. Like, it's locked, it's shut, you can't get in. So a line will form if you get there a little earlier. Just because it was a super nice day until 4 o'clock when the storms rolled in, because it was such a nice day, there was just a lot of people coming to the fairgrounds. I know I talked to a couple people who were there with like their kids and their family, and they weren't necessarily like yarn and fiber people. They were just there because they wanted something fun to do on a Saturday. And I really love that for them, because it introduces our passion to people who may not otherwise, kind of understand like the allure of yarn and fiber and the sheep. So because it was so busy, there were a lot of lines basically everywhere. There was a line for the merch barn. There was a line for food, lines, plural, please. There were lines for food and drinks everywhere. There were lines at a lot of the more popular vendors. And quite honestly, there were quite a few booths that I didn't even get to because it was just so busy. I ended up leaving the festival around 3 o'clock. I was able to connect with some people there, chit chat, take some selfies, so that was fun. But I ended up leaving at 3 o'clock. I was really tired at that point, and I pretty much saw everything I wanted to see, and I got everything I wanted to get. So I left a little earlier than normal, and I was home by 4:15, I think, because it takes me a little over an hour to get there. And when I got home, I, of course, go to Instagram. P.S. I'm Karchermakes on Instagram if you'd like to follow me there. But I was looking through Instagram and stories, and I saw that they had like this huge freak storm blow in, and just sideways rain, hail, like people's tents were getting destroyed outside. Some people lost some merchandise. And, you know, that kind of broke my heart a little bit for them. Look, Maryland weather, it's unpredictable at best. And it makes me sad that they were impacted by it, especially since like the whole day up to that point was really nice. It was sunny, there was a nice breeze, and it's unfortunate that the timing of that storm happened when it did. So I'll insert some footage now of some of the booths at Maryland Sheep and Wool, the animals. I love the animals so much. It's my favorite part, to be honest. And the sheep breed of the year were the Black Nose Valet. I think I'm saying that correctly. They're the cute little white sheep with the black curly face. They are so cute. And when you see them in person, like, they don't even look real. They look like little cartoon characters, but they were so cute. And I really enjoyed spending time with the sheep, talking to some of the shepherds, understanding, why did you select this sheep to breed and to shepherd, and, it's so delightful to see all the animals. So I'll put that footage in now, and I will see you on the other side so that we can talk about all the goodies that came home with me. So it's lunchtime, and I'm back here at the car dropping off a little bit of a haul. You guys will see that later. And it is so hot today. I was not expecting this. They were calling for rain in the forecast all week, and it's cloudy, but I don't think it's gonna rain, which is amazing because at Maryland you either get sweltering heat or monsoon. That's it. You get two choices. And I guess giving those two choices, I'll take the heat over the monsoon. But y'all, wearing this cardigan and it's 80, 85 degrees, it's a little warm. So at this point, I've already walked through the outside vendors. I've not touched the barns yet. That's up next. I've been through the main hall, and then I checked out the sheepdog demonstration, which was really cool, although sheepdog didn't want to participate, or maybe the sheep didn't want to participate. So now that lunch is over, I've had a little rest, it's time to head back in. So I'm gonna do this somewhat chronologically, and I'm gonna start with what I got at Yarncentrick, and then I'll get into what I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool. Now, I wanna preface this with, if you're not into hauls, if you don't like seeing what people buy, don't feel the need to watch this. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching to this point, but don't feel like you have to sit through me showing what I purchased. It's okay. I did plan ahead. I had a whole list on my phone of things that I wanted to shop for, specific project-based yarns, fibers, and for the most part, I stuck to the list, and I was very proud of myself. And I didn't even get everything on my list. For example, I wanted to get some sport weight non-superwash wool to make Andrea Mallory's Traveler hoodie, and I just didn't see anything that kind of spoke to me for that. So that's still outstanding on my list. I didn't get any yarn for that, but I did get some stuff. So we're gonna start with Yarncentrick. Now, I was in the first group of timed tickets. So that came with this nice bag, and we got our choice. It was this orange color, or there was like a mustard yellow. And let me tell you, it was hard to choose, but I went with the orange. You know, I'm an Orioles fan, so orange is always acceptable in this house. Okay, so first up, I'm going to talk about some of the accessories and notions that I got at Yarncentrick. And the first thing is this book. This is Safiyyah Talley. She's also known as the Drunk Knitter on Instagram. And she was there. I met her. I got a little picture with her, and I'll insert it here. But she had this book with her called Knit 2 Socks in 1, and I was really intrigued by this. So basically what this is about is you knit the entire tube twice as long as you would a normal sock, right? And then you split and break it into 2 socks. And this book has a bunch of different sock patterns, which, by the way, these socks here with the little ruffle at the top, we need to bring ruffled socks back. I know I talked about the pom-pom socks, the vintage pom-pom socks in a prior video. I think we also need to bring back frills. What about frilled socks with a pom-pom? That might happen. It may happen. She also took the time to sign the book for me, which was nice. I appreciated that. So definitely check out this book if you're interested in some maybe unique ways to knit some socks. Up next, Camp Stitchwood. I love their stuff so much. I have so many of their stickers. I have pins. I really want to get a t-shirt, and I had asked her if she has plans. She has a sticker, and I have it. It's downstairs on my sewing cart. But she has a sticker with a little A-frame house, and it has a yarn ball on it. And I asked her, you know, if you ever put this on a t-shirt, I will buy it. So she was like, yeah, I've gotten that request quite a bit. So maybe that happens. But what I got there is this sticker. So I already have the knitter one, and I needed the crocheter one. And then I got this yarn bomb. How fun is that? This is the best thing ever. I would also like this on a t-shirt if you're listening, Augusta. But yeah, they are from Camp Stitchwood. And then up next, I visited, so my friend Heather, Charm Knitty, she is also one half of the Charm City Unicorns podcast here on YouTube. Her and Shayla, who is also Black Pearl Magic. So Shayla had her booth set up. She sells project bags, and Heather was helping her. So I got to stand there and chit chat with them for probably way too long. And then I was getting yelled at by the facilitators because I was getting close to the end of my time for my time ticket. But Had a great time talking to them. I picked up a few things from Shayla's booth. First being, you guys know I love a sticker. Charm City Unicorns. How fun is that? Do we love it? I love it. And then I did get a little Notions bag from Shayla, and it's this vinyl with this fun neon, matches my nails, neon and checkerboard print. And then they also had these very cute Charm City Unicorn stitch markers. And I love a unicorn. I love a rainbow. I love pink. I love neon. So everything about this spoke to me. So there's those. And next up, I also finally got to meet Shannon of Shannon's Fun Bags. And she had posted, and this is a sticker, of course, you guys know, like, look, I love stickers. So I met her there, finally. We've been following each other on Instagram for a bit. And she had posted on Instagram probably a month ago, maybe more, this possum fabric that she had picked up. And I immediately messaged her and I'm like, are those going to be bags? When are those going to be bags? I need a possum bag in my life. And she's like, yes, it's going to be bags. I don't know when. So when I ran into her there, I was like, please tell me you brought the possum bags with you. And she's like, you're in luck. They're in the cesium truck. So I made sure. I almost didn't make it in time because there was only, I think, 2 left when I got there. But I made it out finally to the cesium truck. And I got my possum bag. And I love it so much. Look at it. Look at it. Look at these possums. I love it. So Cesium had the possum bags, and then they also had their show colorway, which was a possum themed colorway because there's an area of Frederick called Possum something. Possum Town, Possum Pike. I don't remember the name. I'll put it down here below if I can find it, but I just love this so much and I'm so happy, and I'm glad I'm finally showing it on here so that I can actually use it now. Shannon, bravo. Well done. I love it. Okay, let's talk yarn. Now, I mentioned in my planning video again that I had some specific projects that I wanted to make, and 3 of them were t-shirts, but also sock yarn doesn't count towards that. I always need sock yarn. There's always going to be socks. So when I say I want to intentionally buy yarn, I usually don't count sock yarn because it's intended for socks and it's going to be socks. So my favorite sock yarn put up is a half skein. A 50-gram skein of sock yarn is my new favorite thing ever when it comes to knitting. And, you know, Yarncentrick did not disappoint on the availability of 50-gram half skeins of sock yarn. Starting with, so this is from Leading Men Fiber Arts. It is the Showstopper Intermission Base, which is a 75-25. And the colorway is Bend and Snap, which is a Legally Blonde reference, and I'm here for it. And then I also got, to go with this, I felt like, so with 50-gram skeins, I wear a size US 7 shoe, women's 7 shoe. I can get a full pair of socks out of a half skein of yarn if I include a 20-gram mini with it for cuffs, heels, sometimes toes. So I felt like orange would be good for this one. And this is, again, the Showstopper mini skein, same 75-25 base, but this one's called Citrus Splash, and it is bright and fun, and I thought it would go really well with this pink. So those are gonna be socks. And you guys are gonna see a common theme here when it comes to colors. I don't know why I'm like this. I tend to gravitate to the same colors over and over again when I do my festival yarn shopping. And some years it's blue, some years it's purple. I think this year is orange and pink, and you're gonna see that common theme. So I'm just warning you now. Next up, my friends Tasha and Brian from the FrogIt Yarncentrick. They also had half skeins, which was very exciting. And I chose these two. And what I think I'm gonna do with these two is try some fraternal socks. So do the sock in this color with this for heels, toes, and cuffs, and then vice versa. Do the sock in this color with this for heels, toes, and cuffs. And I think that would be fun. Let's jazz it up a little bit. And these are their froglets, which is a good name for a half skein. And it's 75-25. This one's candied yams, which is like the perfect name for this. It's like a darker sort of rusty orange. And then this one is called Citrus Spritzer. And it has some of those orange tones in it, but then also greens and purples and bright pinks. And I love it. So there's the FrogIt Yarns half skeins going to be socks. Additionally, from FrogIt Yarns, I got their For a Cure. This is their charity skein where the proceeds go to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So there's quite a few indie dyers that are dyeing yarn for this charity giveaway, and I have more. There's more, but this is the one from FrogIt, and it's this really pretty deep pinks with light speckles. And this is on their merino fingering base, and it's a 75-25. And these will also be socks most likely, but it may also be a hat because I really like this color and I think this would be a good hat. So we'll see. So speaking of the charity colorways, I also picked up two skeins from Melissa at Rising Tide Fiber Company. And this is her version of that charity colorway, and she calls it Radiant Recovery. And this is on her Calvert fingering base, 100% superwash merino. So no nylon in this one. Look how pretty this is. It's oranges, as is the theme. Oranges and pinks and yellows and tiny little speckles of blues that break into purple, and it is just stunning. So this is going to most likely be I'm pretty sure it's called the Uptown Tee by Tori Yu. So there's those. And then I also got from Melissa a pom-pom because my shift along hat that I made out of my hand spun needs a pom-pom, and I thought this one will be good for it. So I also found a new to me dyer at Yarncentrick this year, Super Glo Fibers. I came to know about Super Glo Fibers from Amy of Happy Little Yarn. She had an advent from them last year, the year before last, and their kind of vibe is neon brightness. And when I saw the booth at Yarncentrick, I was like, yes, 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 I need this. So again, with the sock yarn, I picked this one up. It's purples and pinks and yellows. And this one is called Picture You on her super sock base. And this is an 85-15 superwash merino nylon. And it's gonna be socks, maybe a hat, but probably socks. In addition to that, I also picked up, they were previewing a brand new base called the Silk Sock Base. And this is a 50-50 merino silk blend. And it's called the Hollow Color and Texture. And this is very shiny and holographic. And I hope you can really appreciate how pretty this label is. So this colorway is called Bubble Veil, and I'm gonna hold it a little closer so you can see. It is purple with these kind of neon variegations in it. And this is gonna be a tee or a top or a tank. I'm not sure which one yet. I have like 5 on my list that all call for 2 skeins of yarn. So that is going to be a top at some point for me. Okay, lastly, from Yarncentrick, I mentioned the Cesium Yarns yarn truck, which is where I picked up the possum bag by Shannon's Fun Bags. And so they had yarns from Terrapin Fiberworks, and I do have some Terrapin Fiberworks yarn in my stash. I have 2 skeins. They do plant-based fibers, and I have 2 skeins of their cotton base that's going to be a tank or a t-shirt at some point in my life. But they had this tencel, and this is 100% tencel, which is a plant-based fiber that is derived from wood. 98% certain that's correct. But this is so pretty, and I have some tencel on a cone that I intend to weave, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to use this with that to weave something or if this is going to be another t-shirt. But this is so pretty. The colors, it's like a neutral kind of grayish white base with a lot of pinks and purples, but also specks of green and red. And it is just stunning. And it is so silky soft. And because this is 100% tencel, it's going to be very, very, very drapey. It's a really good equivalent to silk if you are not into the whole process of how they make silk. Tencel is a really good alternate option for that. Lastly, from Yarncentrick, got some fiber, y'all, from Yarn Jam. So this is again a new dyer for me. I think they were at Yarncentrick last year, but don't quote me on that. I did not get anything from them last year. But coming off of my spinning class with Jillian, I had to get some fiber. And their colorways were so pretty, and I had to get these 2. So let's start with this one. This was their kind of show colorway, I guess. It's called Blue Crab, Confetti Tweed, and it is 89% natural Shanico, which is a merino rambouillet cross breed of sheep. So you get the softness of merino with some of the strength that the longer staple rambouillet provides. And then it also, this one happens to have these little neps in it, and I'm hoping you can see that. You can see these little like blips, these neps. The neps are 6% acrylic and 5% rayon. And I thought this was really, really stunning. So to go with this though, because now I'm all in on this idea of combo spinning, parallel drafting, I wanted to get something to complement this. And they had this, which is this very pale blush pink. And I feel like the camera is making it look more sort of tan, but it is very much a blush pink, and it's called French Rosé. And this one happens to be 100% of the Shanico fiber. And I think that by parallel drafting these 2 together, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, it'll tone this down. And I think that's going to be really pretty. There's that from Yarncentrick. Now let's get into what I picked up at Maryland Sheep and Wool. So I mentioned this in the planning video also, that I really liked the design of the artwork this year for Maryland Sheep and Wool. Every year they have an artist create a pictures, plural, for the logo, and this year's was so cute. And I'm usually not a merch person, but I really appreciated the artwork, so I had to get this. Look how cute this is. It's a little spinning wheel and sheep and tools, and it is so cute. I love it. I chose to go with the long sleeve t-shirt hoodie because that's what I mostly wear in my real life. So of course, they also had stickers, so had to get those. I love that they have this spinning wheel one. It's really hard to find. Like, it's really, I feel like it's popular to have like stickers of yarn and of knitting and even crochet. Spinning stickers aren't that easy to find, so I was really happy to see that they had a little spinning wheel on here too. And then I just got one of these, the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival stickers. And then while we're on the sticker kick, Cottontail Farms, they're from Virginia. They were there with their yarns and bags, and I got this little sheep. He was too cute. And I also got these. So this is a spinner's control card. This tells you what the twist angle of your yarn is while you're spinning and plying. And then this gives you an idea of the weight and thickness of the yarn that you're spinning. Now, I have a set of these. They're clear plastic. They are from Hip Strings, and I bought them at Maryland Sheep and Wool probably 10 years ago. I have no idea what I've done with them. I can't find them, so I had to get new ones. And then I also got a little stitch marker, and it says Maryland Sheep and Wool 2025 on it. It's fun. So unrelated to yarn, and if you guys have been going to Maryland Sheep and Wool for any period of time, you've probably heard of this, but Just a Mere Tree Farms has maple cream, maple sugar, maple granola. It's all of these maple kind of themed products. And last year I picked up a small jar of their maple sugar. So good. I ran out of it in like 4 months and then jonesing for it. So this year I made a beeline to their booth and I picked up this 1 pound bag of the maple sugar. And I'm hoping that this kind of gets me through until next year's Sheep and Wool. So this is just sugar made from maple, right? So it does have a bit of a maple flavor to it. It's not very strong though. And what I do with this is I put this in my chai with a little bit of milk. Delicious. Highly recommend. So that's the non kind of yarny stuff from Maryland Sheep and Wool. So now let's get into the yarn and fiber. And I want to start with the fiber first. So as I mentioned at the beginning, in the class with Jillian, we used a braid of fiber from Into the Whirled, and it was 100% Falkland wool. And I really liked the feel of the wool. I liked the feel of the sample that we made with it. So when I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, that was on my list of things to buy. So I bought basically it's the equivalent of a sweater's quantity, but it's fiber. I got these 4 colors of their Falkland hand-dyed combed top braids. Now, a lot of people will call this roving, and that's fine. I'm not the police, but technically, I've learned that technically that's incorrect. This is comb top, which is different than roving. Roving is a carded prep fiber, which is more suited to woolen spinning versus worsted spinning. But anyway, I got 4 different colors, and they all, you can kind of see that they all sort of coordinate together. And I think this may be what becomes that sweater in the Yarnitecture book that I showed earlier. So the colors that I got are High Octane, which is this really pretty purpley color. Just Pretentious Enough, which has the purples, but then also blues and grays, yellows and oranges. And I love the name. Heirloom Ornamental, which again has those purples, but also pulls in some of the oranges and the tiniest bit of cream. And lastly, Fruition, and this one has the purples, yellows, and more brighter oranges. And I just noticed, by the way, I made a boo-boo. This one is Cheviot, not Falkland. Not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. It'll be fine. It can go into the sweater with Falkland. It's okay, but I thought this was Falkland, but it's not. So those are gonna make some very pretty yarns and hopefully a sweater one day. So a more fiber. So, and I'll insert footage of this here versus waiting to the end, but Angel Lock Fiberworks is out of Westminster, Maryland. And they have an electric carder machine that they demonstrate at the festival. And one of the things that they make with that is these, they call it odds and ends roving, which is a carded prep. And it's these, basically, they're very similar to loop bumps if you're familiar with those. They're basically a gradient roving bump. And I purchased a couple of these last year, the year before last, but I only got 2, which I now know is not enough to do really a lot with. So I ended up this year getting 3 more. And again, with my color scents for this year, these are pinks and purples. This one has a little bit of blue in it. This one's sort of very blue, and this looks white. This looks white, but it's actually very blush pink, and it has some sparkle in it. And it has orange there. I think I just made it worse. Has some orange in the middle. And then this one is more of the darker pink with the aqua. So these, combined with the other 2 that I bought previously, will perhaps also become a sweater because now I have enough fiber to make that happen. Before we get to the yarn portion, I do have something else that wasn't yarn related. I picked up another picture from Sheep Incognito. They paint these on canvases, and you can buy them on canvases if you choose. They have those for sale. But I got the print, and this is called Dyed in the Wool, and I just thought it was so cute. So I need to get a frame and put this up. Okay, yarn time from Maryland Sheep and Wool, and I'm gonna start with what I'm calling the deal of the day. And if you're new here, I really have a love for local mills, farms, dyers. I love all things local, and this is no exception. So this is from Sweitzer Fiber Mill. They are located in Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania, which is quite close to me. And every year, well, I don't want to say every year, the past few years, they've had set up at Maryland Sheep and Wool these sale bins, and it's unlabeled fiber, and they're really good prices. And this year they did not disappoint. They had 2 giant bins of sale fiber, unlabeled. I'm assuming that it's their merino farm blend, but I don't know. They don't know. It's probably non-superwash, but I bought a sweater's quantity, and these were only $10 a piece. Look at this. Look at this. So this is a worsted bordering on Aran weight yarn. Again, they're unlabeled. It's most likely non-superwash because that's what they primarily mill there. So I'm making an assumption there. But they had all of these bright colors this year in the sale bin. So I went through and found the orange and the pink. And what I think I'm going to do with these is make a striped cardigan out of them. So what do you guys think? And it smells so sheepy. It smells so good. Okay, lastly for the yarn. Last, certainly not least, I went back to Kim Dye's Yarns booth because she did not steer me wrong last year with my selection of yarn for my pedal party crop, and because I have a couple more tee patterns that I want to make. I'm totally in my t-shirt knitting era at this point. I don't know. I went back to her booth and got more of the same yarn base, which is the Napoleon Sock 80/20 Superwash Merino Silk, but this time I chose to go with the colorway Monet's Pond. And it is very Monet-esque, let me tell you. This is spot on name for this colorway. Purples, pinks, the littlest bit of greens, blues. This is going to be stunning. Now, I have a couple different tee patterns that I will be making. I'm not sure exactly which pattern is going to go with which yarns yet, but I do have the Pompous tee pattern that I purchased from Samantha Guerin, and I'm thinking that's what this one might be. And then also, Kim had a rack of sample knits, and I find sample knits so helpful to look at when I'm at a fiber festival because it really gives you an idea of how the yarn knits up, what the drape is gonna look like, and then also give you ideas for patterns, right? So she had one knit up, and I don't know if I caught a picture of it. If I did, I'll insert it here, of the haiku top, and that one was knit out of a silk blend yarn. So I went through what she had as far as the higher percentage silk blend yarns, and this is her smoothie fingering base. It's 65/35 silk linen, which I think is going to be perfect for a short sleeve summer top. And this colorway is called Suncatcher. And again, as is the theme for this year's Maryland Sheep and Wool, it's pinks and purples. I like what I like, y'all. I am who I am. So I think this base is going to be really pretty, and that top, and I am excited to get one of these cast on. Lastly, so that's it for the yarn. The last thing that I bought, and I don't have this to show, I bought some lamb chops, which we had for dinner on Sunday last week, so the day after Maryland Sheep and Wool. And as I was going through the building that had the food in it, the lamb, I don't know if they're called the Lamb Association, the Lamb Board, the American Lamb Board had a booth set up, and they had all of these little free recipe books, which I thought was nice. I like lamb. I like it a lot. We don't eat it that often though, because quite honestly, it's hard to find around here. And the Lamb Board did help me with some local farms who offer lamb meat. So I picked these up. It's three little recipe books. And typically when I make lamb, I will either do a shepherd's pie, I will do lamb burgers with tzatziki, or I will do lamb chops. And that's probably all I've ever made. I've made lamb stew once, but I feel like this should help give me some more ideas on how to how to use lamb, some recipes for it, and I'm pretty excited to try those out. And of course, the lamb board also had stickers, so I had to get some. I love this one. I love you. I love you guys. So those were fun. So that is the haul from Maryland Sheep and Wool. Thank you so much for being here. I got to meet so many people at Maryland. I wore my End Times cardigan and I got stopped by, I don't even know. I can't even begin to count. 1,000 people, probably. It was a lot. It was a lot. I got stopped by so many people complimenting my sweater, and I do have a video all about that sweater that I'll link below if you're so inclined to watch that if you haven't seen it yet. And it truly was a labor of love, and to see the amount of people who also loved it and appreciated it, that just made me so happy. I call it my love letter to indie dyers because it's all indie dyed yarn, 553 different indie dyed yarns in that sweater. So if you saw me there, if we met, if you're now following me here because of it, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope you come back and see me again. So that's it for this episode. Maryland Sheep and Wool did not disappoint. It was an amazing time. I got to spend some time chatting with some amazing people. Got to see some fiber friends in real life, which is always amazing. And I'm already counting down to next year. It's already happening, and I've already blocked my calendar. It's always the first full weekend in May, always. I've already got it blocked on my calendar, and I'm already ready to go again. The next episode here on Karchermakes will be more of a regular sit-down project episode. I have some works in progress. I have a sweater that needs one sleeve finished, and I need to start the second sleeve on it, but I don't know. I don't think that'll be done by the next time I record. We will see, but you will definitely see it on there. And then maybe, just maybe, I will have one of these new yarns cast on for a fun summer top because it's getting hot here, y'all, and I'm ready for summer. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, happy making.